Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Marrying a woman from a different nationality isn't all that unusual, but adding a large age gap and traveling thousands of miles to be with them raises more eyebrows. We can say that what others think doesn't matter, but sometimes it really does. And if family members are shocked, saddened, or disgusted with what you've done, that will affect the dynamics constantly. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea and get an inside look at how foreigner and Filipina relationships work and what you can do to have a good relationship with a Filipina, hopefully leading to marriage. Comments are always welcome. Remember to check out lvbts.com for podcasts and more. Let me know if your family accepted your relationship with a Filipina or if there was someone who just didn't quite understand. I didn't have much family here in the States. My mother lived nearby. So did my aunt and cousin at that time. Now and then my aunt and mother would spend some time together. My father, sister, and grandmother had passed away. My father at 55, my sister at 51. I will just say now that my sister would have been absolutely elated that I married a Filipina because she knew I liked them and told me that one time she thought I was going to end up marrying one. She was very serious. I told her that was basically not possible, or at least I couldn't see how, and I really wasn't happy with her with that prediction. She would have loved Isa, and it turned out to be true. My mother is not one to take risk, and I married Isa so quickly. I don't remember having a long conversation with my mother about it, but I probably did because it was such a good feeling to have a girlfriend and have realistic thoughts about getting married. I can imagine my mother warning me in some way, but I don't, and maybe it went right past me. I'm pretty sure with something of this magnitude, I kept my mother informed of this wonderful relationship that had started online the morning of March 17th, 2015. I remember because I kept chat transcripts from those days to use for my visa petition for her. By May 10th, we were already married. So the quick marriage aspect would also be a reason my family might question what we did. Excuse me. My wife wanted to see my mother and aunt on webcam, so one day we did a Skype session, which was the first time anyone in my family had ever done one. It went well. My wife was excited about it. I should mention that if your Filipina prospect wants to do a webcam with your family and raises the idea, I think that's a good sign. I doubt she would want to do that and expose herself to fraud if she can't answer some of their questions. My wife's English was good enough to communicate with them, which, by the way, helps the family dynamic. My mother had heard all about my struggles with being single for 30 years, and it wouldn't surprise me if she thought I would never get married. So being told I was going to marry a woman on the other side of the world, 27 years younger, that I had not met in person yet, likely didn't make her jump for joy. I can understand if she had been skeptical. I'm sure I tried my best to help her feel comfortable about my decision to marry her. Come to think of it, my mother has her own circle of friends, and I can imagine she was wondering what she was going to tell them about our marriage. It would be 8 months after our marriage before my wife would be able to arrive in America. As I think through this, I don't think I spent any time being concerned about how others would view this decision. I was focusing on our relationship. I can tell you I have never been ashamed of it and have never been uneasy talking about it. My wife wanted to surprise my mother when she arrived, so we told my mom that she could go with me to the airport on a Wednesday to pick Isa up. But all the while, we knew I was going to get her on the previous Monday, then surprise her. I met Isa at the airport. She looked as small as ever in this soft, furry gray coat with a hood around her head. Her first words were, "Let's go to the car," or something romantic like that. One of these days I should ask her what exactly she was thinking when she had gathered her luggage at the carousel and saw me walking towards her. As we were driving to our then apartment, she remarked that she wanted to meet my mother before we even got there to unpack our bags. That says a lot about my amazing Isa. She had been up for about a day and a half, but before seeing her new place to live, she wants to meet my mother. I remember. I reminded my wife that remember now we're going to surprise my mom, just like we talked about. So we pulled into the driveway. Isa hid herself off to the side of the front door, and I rang the bell. When my mom opened the front door, she asked me if I had gotten locked out of the garage door entrance that we always use to get into the house. Then Isa whipped around to the front door and hugged my mom, and my mom started crying, and they hugged each other. My mom kept crying, and it was a beautiful sight. I have this as one of my videos in the Just Us playlist. It was a special scene. About 6 months after that, we were about to buy a townhouse not too far away before my mom asked us at the last hour if we would move in with her. She had been concerned that she would be uncomfortable if we were arguing in the house, and we've done a fairly good job of not arguing around my mother. My wife is polite to my mom, frequently asking her if there's anything her son can do for her. Isa watches TV with her, will run an errand for her now and then, always asks her if she wants to eat with us, helps her with the holiday decorations around the house. And of course, my mom feels better not being alone in the house, so if my wife is there, then she feels safe. The more I think about it, how your Filipina responds to your family before she meets them, and vice versa, is a good indicator of how that dynamic might go after she immigrates to you. My mom calls Isa and I the kids. It hasn't always been smooth sailing, but you can't expect it to always be. My mom is fastidious and meticulous, and it is good that Isa is similar, but at times, there's been a little clash or two, probably because there were two women of the house now, in a way. My mother tells me that she wants Isa to feel like this is her house and to decorate the place the way she wants, but at the same time, my mother lived here for 10 years prior to that, and I'm sure she was set in her ways. Isa certainly has her ideas for how to arrange the house, so naturally there could be a little conflict now and then, but as far as how my mother has accepted my wife and the family, that has gone well. My aunt and my cousin get along well with my wife too. Isa took the initiative early on to be nice to them and bought them some gifts, I think, over that Christmas holiday, and immediately integrated herself into the family very well. My cousin's girlfriend accepts Isa too. So do my coworkers. Some of this is due to how she was taught to be in the Philippines, and some of it's my wife's personality. It may be hard for some of you to believe this, and that's understandable. But the more you see a foreigner and Filipina together, even with the large age gap, the more the age gap diminishes in importance, and you end up with two people who love each other. I'm sure if our family was larger, they would still be glad that I found love beyond the sea.